Welcome to Travel Chicks, where we talk travel, transformation, and inspiration. My name's Melissa. I'm the founder of Travel Chicks, and I want to let you know that it may be me, it may be one of our other travel chicks, but welcome on board this adventure. Please, if you love what you hear, like it. Leave a review and share this with your friends. We need to inspire more people to create their own travel story. Welcome back to another episode of Travel Talk, where we talk all things travel, transformation, and inspiration in hopes that we can entice you and inspire you to get on a plane and to take that bucket list dream trip. Today, I'm super excited because we have a phenomenal lady named Shauna Carter from Ama Waterways. Shauna, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm so happy to be here joining you today.
Yes, and we have a lot of cool and fun and exciting things to talk about when it comes to river cruising. So how about you share with us the most recent and up-to-date protocols when it comes to COVID and boarding a river cruise with you guys?
Well, right now, as it stands today, we are welcoming our guests on board our ships all around the world, not just in Europe, but also in Africa, on the Mekong starting in October, and also in Egypt. And as it stands today, our guests do need to be vaccinated when they come to the ship. If there's medical or other various reasons, we can certainly accept a PCR test, a negative PCR test that's done within 48 hours. But other than that, if they've got their vaccinations, they can come on board. But we do need to also follow the rules of the countries that we sail through. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if they're going to France and France doesn't require anything, then you're fine. But if you're going to other countries where, some of our river cruises could be going through 3, 4, 5 different countries. So no matter where we go, if they have requirements, then we need to follow those as well. It's not a situation of, I'll just stay on board the ship. No, if there's requirements in that country, all guests on board must meet those requirements. Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit generic for me to talk about because every country is different. Yeah. I mean, we definitely are seeing things have really opened up. Our guests don't have to wear masks anymore on board, and the experience is wonderful. However, we do want to make sure that you do have to check the requirements of the countries that you are visiting and flying into.
Okay. And so just to be clear, are unvaccinated travelers able to board if they get a COVID test or no?
Well, no, that's more for specific like medical reasons and things like, yeah.
Okay, perfect. And
that's where it stands today, but it's changing all the time. So, but that's where we are today.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the other thing. We've seen all across the news headlines information about low rivers in Europe. Can you speak to this? Is it affecting Ama Waterways? Obviously you can't predict the future, but where is everything with these supposed low rivers in Europe right now?
So, low water, high water, this is something that can certainly happen throughout Europe and, well, all sorts of areas of the world. Mm-hmm. And it's, of course, never really predictable. Typically, it's super warm weather where we've had no water or, maybe times when there's been too much rain. But it really doesn't happen as often as you think. And it only happens in very certain spots along the river. And so typically it's the Danube and the Rhine where we see this at times. And it's only a very small section of the river. So it's not like the entire river is low and you can't even move along the river. So, but I mean, we have seen dry sections for sure. But with Ama Waterways, we're very fortunate because we have the lowest draft difference. So, we tend to sail the longest because of that. And So we haven't had to cancel any of our cruises this year. And the other day, they got a lot of rain in Germany. So the Rhine seems to be catching up, no problem. And water levels are increasing every day. So that's good news. It looks like by the end of the week, we'll be back to our, sort of regular itinerary. There are times, even when we're sailing, sometimes we need to alter the itinerary a bit just to, be able to navigate through the area, and also to make sure our guests are having an incredible time on board. And occasionally we do ship swaps where, one ship going downstream, the other one going upstream will meet at a point, and then we'll swap ships and carry on. Now that doesn't really happen all that often, because usually we're able to continue. And the very odd time we'll also have to alter the itinerary. We might be going, if it was the Rhine, now we might be doing more of the, Holland and Belgian area, but that's always wonderful to do. So, and we certainly look after the guests. If their experience is altered or changed, we're certainly going to keep in communication with them at all times, make sure they know what's going on, give them the very best experience, and then of course offer some compensation at the end of the journey. So when they come back home, they'll be hearing from us. But it's really important just to stay in communication with the guests, before, during, and after. And, it's amazing. We get incredible letters from our guests saying, even with these things happening, Ama Waterways did a wonderful job looking after all of us and making sure we still had the best time possible. And at the end of the day, that's, all we can promise is that we will take care of you and, give you the best experience you can have. And sometimes things happen. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I think the Danube's okay. I haven't heard anything more about that particular river. The Rhine was the bigger concern, but now, thank goodness, lots of rain comes. And that's the thing. Water levels can change in in an hour.
Yeah.
Sometimes, it's that quick. So, that's what's happening for this year and moving into the fall.
Okay, so really, that's excellent news, because many travelers right now, their confidence was like, should I really book a river cruise or shouldn't I? And so the answer is yes. And,
Absolutely.
we, with Ama right now, you guys have some incredible deals. And guys, if you haven't checked out our site yet, go to travelchicks.ca/river cruise, because there is still a small amount of space left on the Christmas markets. And Shauna, how about you share? You've been on these Christmas market river cruises. You've had tons of guests experience this as well. And what are some highlights of taking one of those Christmas market cruises?
Well, yeah, I'm very fortunate. I've done Christmas markets probably about 8 times, and they're typically on the Rhine and the Danube, but we also have a Christmas cruise on the Rhone in France. And so the France one is a little bit different in that it's really more focused around culinary and sort of the magic of the holidays, whereas the Rhine and the Danube, they really get into the Christmas markets. That's much more the style of celebration in these particular countries. And I love going at that time of year because the weather's still really nice. If you go a little later in early December or mid-December, you might get a little bit of snow. You never know. The weather is very similar to, I would say, British Columbia, and that's where I live, but even less rain there. And it's just so magical to come into these towns and cities along the rivers and just see all the celebrations and the decorations. Some of these cities are so beautifully decorated. You could just spend the day looking at the decorations, let alone going to the markets. And this is how people celebrate the holidays. It's not as commercial as I would say here in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
but they come together at the markets. They share a glass of glühwein, which is the hot mulled, red or white wine, or you might have a beer or hot chocolate or whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
And just walking through the markets, meeting together with friends and family, it's a very social time as well to celebrate the holidays. And whether you actually celebrate Christmas or you don't, it's still so beautiful just to walk around. The sights are amazing. And there's lots of entertainment as well. So it's not just markets, there's food, there's rides, there's all sorts of events going on throughout these different cities, and the lights. And I think it's a wonderful time for families to go, for friends, girlfriends especially. I've gone with many of my friends many times,
Mm-hmm.
and we just have the best time. And it's of course it's going to be colder. It's a different experience than going into these areas in the summer or the fall or in the spring. And that's what I love about river cruising, is that you will have 4 seasons to experience these itineraries.
Mm-hmm.
So every time you could go to the Danube 5 times and you're always going to have a different experience, especially if you're going in the different seasons. And, people always say, which one's your favorite, the Danube or the Rhine? And I can't even begin to pick because they're
Mm-hmm.
both wonderful. The Rhine, of course, is Amsterdam, and you go into Cologne, and you go into into Strasbourg and Basel. You can do Lucerne and Zurich and into Breisach area, to some of these little beautiful fairy tale towns. Heidelberg, best place in the world to buy a cuckoo clock. Or you might choose the Danube, where you're coming into these iconic cities of Budapest or Vienna or Bratislava, even into Nuremberg, and just such incredible cities to visit, no matter what time of year it is. But
Mm-hmm.
lots and lots of choices. And then, of course, we do get a lot of people who come for actual Christmas and New Year's, because we typically do sail right through to the New Year holiday. And lots of families love to come then, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Awesome. And right now, can you speak to some of the specials if you or your family decide to book this bucket list river cruise that sails in 2022? What are some of the incredible deals you guys have right now?
Well, right now, Melissa, we are celebrating 20 years in business. Ama Waterways is a family-owned company, and thanks to the relationship we have with our wonderful travel partners like yourself, we've grown this company to where it is today, and thanks to all of you, our great successes. But in celebrating this 20th year, we have a wonderful sale taking place right now, our 20th anniversary sale. So for either one of the Christmas market cruises that are on right now, you can get 20% off your stateroom cost, or you can take advantage of free economy air. Now, a lot of you might have points or air credits, and you want to do your own air, and that's fine, because we still offer 20% off your cruise. And perhaps you were looking at the lower lead-in category, a window. Well, with the 20% savings, you could go up into one of our beautiful twin balcony staterooms. Or if you were choosing that anyway, now you're saving an additional, you're saving that 20%. So there's some really wonderful value out there right now with cruising this year. And as you mentioned, there's still some good space. The Christmas markets are almost full, so that one's a little bit more challenging, but there's certainly space on the 2 voyages you've chosen, which is great. And I believe these are both cruises as well, with your promotion that you have with the $300 US shipboard credit, right? So
Yes.
so that's wonderful. I mean, at Ama Waterways, we pretty much include everything, and there's no optional tours. We have beautiful choices every day for you to choose from, and so much included. But that extra shipboard credit is great for, if you want to go have a spa treatment, a massage, or have your hair done, or go shopping in our boutique, or maybe have some cocktails, in the afternoon. But we do include beautiful wines and beer and soft drinks at lunch and dinner, unlimited. And we also have happy hour every day for an hour before dinner. Your stateroom, all your dining is included. Even our alternative dining is included. And this is on all our Europe ships. So, and as I mentioned, all your tours, which are hiking and biking. And yes, if the weather's great, we still do hiking and biking in the winter as well. And lots of wonderful walking tours and wine tours and such. So incredible value this year for those that can travel this year. I know some people are still hesitating a bit, but let me tell you, I've already been to Egypt. I've been traveling quite a bit this year. I'm heading off to Europe in a couple of days. And if you can travel this year, it's a great time to travel because there are less people traveling and so much, incredible savings available right now on departures all through the fall, including those beautiful Christmas market cruises.
And guys, talking about this incredible anniversary sale, Ama has just extended for a few of their ship sailings into 2023. And so we also have these listed on our website for the Tulip Time, which is departing April 3rd, and Europe's River and Castles, which is departing April 4th. So you can still get 20% off these staterooms and what Shauna was talking about, the onboard ship credit. And so what would you say, Shauna, is your favorite thing about the Tulip Time and the Rivers and Castles?
Well, Tulip Time is very different than a lot of our other river cruises. For example, on the Rhine, you're on the Rhine River, but on Tulip Time, you actually start and end your journey in Amsterdam, and then you're sailing on the waterways of Holland and coming into Belgium. And this is a beautiful area. And the best part is you can actually match this up with a Rhine cruise. And so if you want to do Tulip Time a little later in the season, you could back-to-back sail and take a Rhine afterwards. But even if you're just taking Tulip Time, it's a beautiful way to see this part of the world because you don't go into Belgium unless you're on a Tulip Time or Best of Holland cruise. And seeing, the gardens, the Keukenhof Gardens, where you get to see all the beautiful tulips. Hopefully the weather is agreeing to have those beautiful tulips. But even if you don't, they have so many pavilions filled with flowers like I've just never seen so many different varieties of flowers, and it's beautiful. And coming into areas like Antwerp and going and seeing, Bruges and Brussels. These are incredible cities, and of course known for fries, because fries actually started in Belgium, not in France.
Really? So, I didn't know that.
Yes. There's always this big thing about French fries because they actually started in Belgium. And of course, chocolate and wonderful beers, but just lots of different history. And it's a round trip Amsterdam. So you have your first and last night there. So you're right in the city, right in the heart of the city, behind the train station, on the ship, and then exploring these, incredible areas and seeing the windmills, and the dike structure of all of that and how the windmills operate, and going into Rotterdam and going biking along the bike paths along this area. It's really quite fascinating to see how all the delta works and how they lower the canals to work the windmills and such. So fascinating history. And of course, Amsterdam's a great city to visit, especially for museums like the Rijksmuseum and the Van Gogh Museum and Frank's house and things like that. The museum visits you really need to do on your own before or after your cruise because there isn't time during the cruise. But those are wonderful things you can certainly add on.
Awesome. And of course, rivers, Europe's river and castles. I mean, who wouldn't want to explore an ancient or medieval castle?
Yeah, but Europe's rivers and castles is actually, I love all our cruises, but it's so hard because I love them all. But this is kind of a special cruise. They're all special, but different, I should say, in that it comes out of Luxembourg. So Luxembourg is one of the smallest countries in Europe. And it's about 2 hours by train from Paris. So nice and easy, fly into Paris, and then take the train out to Luxembourg. And your journey starts in the city of Trier, and this is really known as sort of the northern Rome city because of all the incredible architecture, Roman architecture there, and one of the oldest Roman gates that still stands, the North Gate there. And so you can do a tour of that, but you've got lots of other things you can be doing as well. But the Mosel, which is the river you'll be sailing on, is this very windy river that comes out of Luxembourg and then, moves along into, it comes through, France and Germany, and it's beautiful. Moselle is probably the most beautiful river in Europe, I think.
Wow.
And then you're going into places like Bamberg. This is a UNESCO city. It's amazing. It's an amazing little town. They had a massive fire many, 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 many years ago, and all the beer got smoked. And so now this is today one of their specialties is this smoky beer that you can go and try. It's not my fave, but a
So
lot of people
cool.
love it. And lots of great, you're in Würzburg and Rudesheim for a Rudesheimer coffee. You even get to see the Rhine Gorge with all those beautiful castles, and coming into, Nuremberg, which is a famous city on its own. One of the, it's a walled city that still remains. And, the Nazi war crimes trials went on in this city. So there's a lot of history tied to Nuremberg as well.
Hmm.
Not all sad, but that history, of course, is very sad. But, a lot of people are looking for that kind of history. They want to learn more, and having a Rudesheimer coffee, going into Kokum for Kokum Castle, which is, just a beautiful, well, it's Reichsburg Castle actually in Kokum. I always call it the Kokum Castle. But, and you can do mustard tours. And so there's always lots of really unique things. And spring is beautiful. And again, the scenery as it unfolds as you're traveling through these rivers into the heart of these towns and cities. It's just amazing. There's just so many different choices. It's hard to know which to choose, but that's a really special cruise. And you could actually add the Danube on after that cruise, or you can also go up and see Prague, a great city, which obviously is not on the river. It's something you do in a land package with us.
Yep.
Because all our cruises, we offer these wonderful pre and post land packages in many, many different cities across Europe. And your cruise manager is with you, and they transfer to and from the ship with you, and you have breakfast, stay in beautiful hotels, do a city tour. So you're hosted the entire time, which is really, really nice. And you get to see a little bit more.
Hmm. And all in all, so many people have a river cruise on their bucket list. And so the intention of us having this conversation today is to share a little bit of what it's like to experience these different itineraries and cities and sites and attractions. And more importantly, it's it's such a different experience than what most people think of a cruise. A typical cruise is like large and massive and, so big. But a river cruise really is a unique experience. And with Ama Waterways, like Shauna just said, you are fully taken care of.
It's a wonderful thing to be able to travel around the world, right? And you can go by so many different ways. You can travel the oceans, you can travel by land, and I've been very fortunate in my life to do all of those things. But when I started river cruising 12 years ago, I just had no idea how different the experience would be and how much more of these countries I would see.
Yep.
Because we always say oceans take you to countries, but rivers take you through them. And you're on these rivers that aren't very deep, they're not very wide. You have scenery unfolding in front of you all day long. They're very destinational. So you do spend a good majority of your time ashore and exploring the culture and the history, food, wine, everything of these beautiful towns and cities. The ships are quite small for Europe. They're basically 148 to, with the Ama Magna at the most 190 guests. Magna's twice the size.
Yep.
And so like you say, it's like floating in a boutique style, beautiful hotel as we sail into these towns and cities. You're not coaching for hours on end, trying to get into the city center. You're walking and you're hiking and you're biking, often with the ship in the background. You can see it there. And it's, it's like having you're on your own, in your own home, and arriving, and the door opens and there's this beautiful area, right? So it is a lovely way to travel. It's very different than ocean because the ships are very small. So, we don't have casinos and 10 lounges and,
Yeah.
all that variety, but we also don't have, thousands and thousands of people, because that's a very different experience. And I don't want to take away from ocean, because ocean is wonderful on its own.
Hmm.
But, and you don't have days of sailing with seeing nothing. We're
Yeah.
every day we're somewhere and we're sailing to the next place and the next place. And the water is always very flat and calm because it's just a river.
Hmm.
And so, for some people, that's really nice because they might have motion sickness and stuff.
Yep.
And there's ways to take care of that too, but you won't find that on a river. Half the time, you won't even feel like you're even moving. And then, of
Yeah.
course, we get up onto our sun deck, and up on the top sun deck, that's really where you're going to see all the beautiful scenery. You see both sides of the river. You can go for a swim in the pool, or if it's winter, you might sit up on one of our sofas with a blankie and have a hot chocolate and watch the scenery. So it's and the food and the wine on board is so lovely, and you're just looked after by our incredible crew, who just are so kind. They're so happy to be working and
Yeah.
welcoming guests back on our ships. And yes, it's a very unique and beautiful way to see the parts of the world that we can actually travel to.
Hmm. And one thing you said is, river cruises, you actually go through the city. And, guys, at the end of the day, don't wait. Like, Ama Waterways right now is having so many sold out ships because people have rebooked from what's occurred in the last 2 years. So they've rebooked into 2022, 2023. And so for all you history lovers, culture enthusiasts, bucket list dream trips, get on it. Don't wait. And I want to thank you, Shauna, for coming on the show today, because I think you really painted a picture of what it is like to cruise on a river cruise with Ama. And it makes me want to leave tomorrow or 2 days with you.
I know I'm actually going to be back sailing on the Dan. I'm going to Europe for something else, but in October I'm heading back to the Danube, and I can't wait to get back on our ships. But we're talking about Europe, but we also have these beautiful cruises in places like Egypt on the Nile, which I just did in April, which was unbelievable. We sail on the Mekong in Vietnam and Cambodia, and we're so happy to be returning there in October
Mhm.
this year. And then Africa, we're on the Chobe River doing these 4-night safaris on a river ship. It's amazing. I did that tour as well. And then we add in safaris and visits to Cape Town and Joburg. And in 2024, we're starting a new program on the Magdalena River in Colombia. So I can't wait
Oh,
for
wow.
that itinerary to be released. We'll probably launch in a couple of months here, but we are already launching 2024 as well. But, like you said, Melissa, if not now, when? Don't
Mhm.
wait. Get out there, travel. see the world and take advantage of these great opportunities. And for those of you who are maybe already booked for journeys or you're still waiting, that's okay. There's lots to come in 23 and 24. So thank you so much for letting me come on with you today and talk about our beautiful company and these incredible journeys that we offer around the world. And we'd love to welcome all of you on board one of our ships, in the near future.
Yes. And thank you. Thank you again, Shauna.